We go, yeah. Right. Okay, y'all. All right, all right. Hello, hello, those of you watching us on YouTube. So, first and foremost, we want to say welcome to Talk Tuesday, a series dedicated to empowering youth and families. This series is brought to you by Steps Foundation, Inc., where advocacy meets education for the betterment of young minds. I am Abigail Ellis, your host and founder of Steps Foundation, Inc. We made it to April, y'all. Yes, it is April. Throughout this month, we'll be shining a spotlight on the importance of protecting our children and creating safe and nurturing environments for their growth and development, as this month is also Child Abuse Prevention Month. So we invite you to join in on these conversations, right? Engage with us as we have these crucial conversations, share insights, and explore strategies to help prevent child abuse and promote the well-being of course, our youngest members of society. So a lot of these stories this month are going to be somewhat personal, things that we've seen out in the field, because some of us work with students day in, day out. And it's just all about like how can we help with preventative measures? How can we make sure that people understand the signs and things that are out there? Like a lot of times we see signs, but we may not know that we're seeing signs. So, we're going to kind of highlight some of those things and pinpoint them. So together we invite you to join us as we help raise awareness and advocate for change, as well as work with our future young people and adults and all of those people that are involved with children day in and day out, to help us continue to thrive and make sure that our students feel safe. So before I even get started, I gotta give a shout out, y'all, because if you haven't been watching, then maybe you don't know the people who are on this screen with me or some of the people that are behind the scenes. So first and foremost, I gotta give a shout out to my brother Smitty. And the reason why this shout out is like so exciting is because y'all, Smitty is also the Steps Foundation Empowerment Story of the Month. And so that being said, congratulations, my brother. And we are so happy to highlight you this month for all the love and dedication that you pour not just into us and our students, but those that surround you. And so we thank you for being that empowerment person day in and day out and doing the things that you do in community.
Wow, that's a lot. Thank you. You know, I put this on without knowing that this was going to happen today. I'll tell you, the organic nature of the particles of the universe are powerful. And then yesterday, on Facebook, I just put something to the effect of, what does equity work look like? And then I answered my own question by saying, basically it's 24/7, 365. There ain't no time off, and what a privilege it is to say, oh, that stuff stresses me out. I can't do that work. All right, ain't no days off when you fighting for the cause of young people to truncate a thought and a belief and a conditioned bias that young people cannot do and cannot achieve.
Yes.
You don't get no sleep. You can't take Saturday and Sundays off. I mean, that, sis, about all the work you do. And I'm
No.
not gonna sit there, but I just want to say, man, it was phenomenal when I woke up this morning and I seen that. Um, it just started a whole hot, just like a domino effect of positivity for the day. And one thing led to another, and man, empowerment. Let's go. Young people, be empowered, man. Let's go.
Yes.
Come on, man. Let's go.
Look, empowerment, such a powerful word all by itself. I mean, a lot of people will sometimes say, what is empowerment? What does that look like? How do we do that? And a lot of it is just you being you and doing the things that you know are right and the things that are helping others to succeed and feel better about the work that they're doing. This is when we don't look at, It's not about us. It's about us seeing you succeed. It's about us seeing you thrive and us pushing you to be better and do more. That's empowerment. And so I always sit back in awe because, brother, you be working. You be out there working.
I want to say this before we get going. Just to young folks, if you listen, and even older folks, empowerment. The word itself, empowerment, is like within. Like sis just said, like believing in yourself. You know what I'm saying? We can sit here and have a pity party. That ain't gonna get you nowhere, right? So when we talk about power, so when I talk to young folks, when you understand, like when you have this plan and you have this focus and you have this schedule of success to get you somewhere, whatever that may be, right? Once you own your power, no one can take that from you. And now you are oblivious to the negative energy that somebody wants to inject on you. So when you become empowered, you no longer give up your emotions. You no longer get frustrated and agitated when somebody tells you you can't or they deny you something. Because half of the time when they deny you, you wasn't supposed to have it anyway. It wasn't even part of the journey.
Come on,
So
brother.
understand when we talk about empowerment, that's you owning you and your power and your commitment and your dedication and your loyalty and your selfishness to yourself to succeed. That's what empowerment is.
Come on now. Come on. No, don't have us dropping the collection plate early. We just get started, brother.
Come on, let's go. I told you, I'm feeling today. Let's go. Feeling it.
Look, Samantha, he calling you out early. Look.
Right. Come on, Samantha. Drop that on the don't be with Samantha thought I was gonna wait till like what? 6:55 y'all time, 6:47 y'all time. Man, I'm on it at 6:20. Come on, Samantha, where you at? Don't come on.
It's loading. I was pumping gas. I was driving. It's loading. It's coming. It should be there.
She said I was pumping gas.
Look, hello y'all, because she done dropped the collection plates, and that means I gotta change the picture. Gotta change. Look.
Hey, come on now.
Listen, we not playing today. Look, Smith got us early. Smith like, listen, drop it.
Let's go.
I love it. You know what? This is what it's all about. I mean, and especially in the topic that we're going to be having today. I mean, we know that talking about child abuse is never an easy thing, and it's a tough subject. But thinking about the words empowerment, look, because all of that's going to come right back into that conversation. And while we are at it, look, I got to give a shout out to my man. Caesar, can I share the good news or I can't share it yet?
Yeah, you can share it.
Listen, my boy Caesar got a new job, y'all, and I'm just so excited. And I gotta say congratulations to my boy because he been going. My baby been telling me, he like, look, it's Abby, I'm working hard, I'm putting in applications, I'm doing it. Look, he was redoing the resume, working on the cover letter. Look, I'm just so proud. One thing about Caesar, y'all, that I just absolutely love and adore, like Caesar, you never give up. And I don't care what obstacles come your way. I don't care what's thrown in the middle. You never give up and you continue to be persistent and you continue to stay the course. And that I love and admire about you. And so that's why I'm so happy for you and so proud of you that you was able to get that new job. And look, nothing but up from here, right? So yeah, I'm so proud of you. Congratulations, baby boy.
Thank you all. Appreciate all the love and support.
Look, Samantha done dropped you some money down there. Look at that money bag.
I appreciate you. Thank you.
So we're gonna call you Money Bag Caesar. Yay! So listen, y'all. Look, this is what we do. So if this is your first time watching us live, look, this is who we are. This is what we do. It's always a good time, whether the conversations are light or heavy. We always have a good time with each other simply because it's who we are. It's what we do, but also how we spread the awareness and how we spread the information. Samantha, I thank you for being here with us today. So y'all won't see Samantha. She is in the background, but she is part of our team. So we are super happy to have her on with us. From time to time, she'll jump in with a little info. My girl be like, hey, I can answer that question. And she jumped right in, and I love it. And Mama is in the background too, y'all. So look, y'all never see her face, but she be on a lot of times. I hear her yelling from another room, giving an answer, or she'll drop it in the chat, you know, because Mama listening and she watching it. She want to make sure like she get her little piece in. So we are all here and this is what we do. So before I even get started with what we're gonna tackle today, I want to just acknowledge that yes, today we'll have sensitive content. And so of course it is related to child abuse and neglect. So we understand that these topics sometimes can be distressing for those of you that are listening. So it's okay for you to turn it off. It's okay for you to walk away. It's okay for you to say, hey, I'll come back and listen to it later. Most importantly, it's okay to say that right now you need help or assistance. And so we're going to tap into some valuable resources for you guys towards the end of it. But I just want to make sure that you all know that we know it's sensitive information. We know that sometimes it is very disheartening and can cause stress and anxiety. So we want you to like have that disclaimer up front. So if you feel the need to walk away, it is okay. Please do so. So now that being said, we're going to tap into it because today's discussion is really understanding the signs of child abuse. And I know for each of us growing up, we've all seen different signs depending on where you grew up. You probably grew up in an abusive household. You probably witnessed it in some way, shape, or form. So we're going to tap into the different types of abuse. So we know one is always physical abuse. That means that there is some type of physical interaction, physical altercation, whether it's hitting, kicking, pushing, pulling, choking, tugging, dragging, whatever it looks like, it's where their hands are physically on you. The other form of abuse is emotional abuse, and that is when they are talking down to you, talking about you, calling you names, making you feel like you are less than, and basically crushing your self-esteem. The other form of abuse is neglect, and this is, you know, poor hygiene, walking around with unclean clothing that's always too small. You look malnourished. You're being left alone. Often have frequent absences from school. You don't get medical attention when you need it. And then there's sexual abuse. So this is anything where they are abusing you sexually, whether it's using their own body parts or using objects to invade your privacy and your personal spaces. And so that being said, now we kind of understand some of the signs of or some of the different types of abuse. I want to ask you guys, has there ever been a time, and this is a personal, where you've observed physical signs that raise concerns about a child's well-being? And then how did you respond to that situation?
Well, you know, I think since I work in the educational environment, unfortunately, I see it too often. You know, it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking. You know, and as mandated reporters, right? There's certain protocols you have to follow and you have to do. And you know, because I work in education environment, I'm very, you know, there's certain things I can't say. I'm going to sit here and say exacts and names and things of that nature. But you know, I think because you made some points when you talked about like the different levels when we talked about abuse, the physical, sexual, the mental, right, neglect. And I don't want to talk out of a turn, but you know, most of the stuff I see when we're talking about, you know, the education part is the neglect, because it's easy. And I want to be very careful what I'm saying and how I say it. Society, it's easy to denounce the physical part of child abuse because We think,
Mhm.
and when I say we, I'm talking about the collective group that thinks we operate in a normal mindset. We think, like, how could you ever put your hands on a child? Right? I mean, that's the first thing that
Mhm.
comes to your mind. Even if you're not a parent, you're like, okay, why would you do that? That just doesn't make sense. So it's easy to look at that and address that. In my role, what I do, the the neglect part is so more prevalent and overlooked, if you will. Because you mentioned something in the neglect part, which really stood out to me was non-attendance in school. Again, I want to be very careful what I say. When we talk about child abuse, and because my work is pointed at the education of young people, when your child becomes a chronic absentee student, you are neglecting that child. You are abusing that child. You are not putting that child's future at the forefront. You know what I'm saying? And I see it every day, all day. Doesn't matter the race, that ethnicity, doesn't matter the financial income. For whatever reason, there's not enough discussion about this chronic absenteeism. Folks, if you're listening, you can Google it. Chronic absenteeism. It is a serious thing. When we start talking about our graduation rates, whether it's
Mhm.
non-whites, whether it's socioeconomic, whatever it is, it all stems from the neglect part of not attending school. So that's what I see. Again, I'm not. I don't want to make it sound like the physical part isn't there. The mental part isn't there. It's all there. It's all there. It's every day. Unfortunately, we see it on the news. But what we don't really see is the neglect part when it comes to participation in school.
Mhm. See, and I love that you bring that up too, because I think sometimes the part of not taking them to school sometimes is it's kind of that twofold situation, right? If I'm beating you at home or somebody's beating you at home, I'm not going to take you and drop you off at school and risk them seeing the marks at school and then them calling somebody. So instead, I'll just keep you home. And I think a lot of times that too plays a factor in some of that absenteeism, especially if there's other things already happening at home. So I for me, like early on when I first became an early childhood educator, the first case that I seen was a sexual abuse case. And it was hard for me to even understand that it was a sexual abuse case because of the things that the young girl was displaying, and some of the things that she was doing to other students. Um, and it wasn't until I started asking questions that I was able to put two and two together. How she acted with the dad, things like when I would ask mom questions, the way mom would look and how her face would, turn flush red, and like she would clam up with answering questions, and especially if dad was in the room. And by the time it got to the point of us calling DCF, they fled.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, again, it's kind of like one of those things where they're going to start becoming absent if they feel like somebody's going to probe, somebody's going to ask, somebody's going to know. So for us to like stay away or stay hidden, don't send them to school.
Right.
And if you remember, like I know there was a case, of there was a lady who had like 4 kids, I believe, and like what she ended up doing was she took them all out of school and she homeschooled for her to be able to not feed them and not clothe them and not bathe them. I think she had those kids chained to a bed, and like that was how they lived. But it was easy for her to do it because I'm gonna just stop sending you to school.
Mm-hmm.
So now
Mm-hmm.
who's gonna come and check?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I think it is very disheartening because we know it's a chronic issue.
Say this. and I don't want to take up Caesar's time, but because of who I am, and you asked the question, how did you address it, right? When you see it, I have to be honest. I to this day, I'm still stuck. When I see or I think that there's some kind of neglect or abuse going on in home. Here's the struggle. Here's the struggle. As a Black man, do I report this to CPS? Now, I'm a mandated reporter. If I report this to CPS, now me as a Black man trying to stem generations of dissolvement of our families, do I run that risk and break up another family for the safety of that young person, right? Or do I do what's right for that young person and report what I perceive to be neglect or abuse, right? So I'm not sitting here saying right is wrong or wrong is right, but what I am saying is the struggle is so real. I personally put child safety first before I put the family's generational legacy, but it weighs on me. It weighs on me. It weighs on me. I've so far 4 years in this line of work, I've had to make one CPS referral. And I know that family right now. I've remembered, I know the names, I know the date I submitted it, and it still doesn't sit well with me. And listen, we are talking about child abuse here, but this doesn't sit right with me. What world do we live in when I know I'm doing right, but it doesn't sit well with me? So
you know why it doesn't sit well, brother? Because how do you know what happens after that?
Absolutely.
We don't. It's like we make the call,
yep.
And once the parent knows you made the call,
absolutely,
they ain't never bringing that kid back. So it leaves us as the caregiver and the person who cares. It leaves us left in the dark, and it leaves us. And then you always have that constant wonder of how is that child? What happened to that child? Are they okay? When I made that call, did they actually receive the help? It leaves us in the dark, which is why it doesn't sit well with us. And I know that that's always the hardest part. And see, I also like that you brought up the fact that two of the things that you look at, right, is that generational portion of family. And I think that too is so hard because when you think about that generational portion of family, you got to look at the whole generation. Okay. So it can't just be, I'm about to break up this family. If their generational legacy is that of abuse, all they're doing is continuously passing it down, which continues to leave other children in danger. So while, yes, we're looking at the legacy and we don't want to break up a home, sometimes us making that report is going to help save that child from continuing that legacy in that generation of abuse. And so I hear all of that because, I be feeling some of those same things when like you hear situations or you see kids going through certain things. And a lot of times us on the opposite side, right? We literally do have to weigh the pros and cons of making that call because you make the call to CPS, CPS is backed up. They inundated. They're going to half investigate that case. Now, at the end of the day, that's not our call, right? We cannot make them do their job. We can only do what we know is right. But I know a lot of times that too, when you have a mandated reporter, those are some of the hardest parts of the call is when I call CPS, are they really going to do their job?
Absolutely. Well, are they going to do their job? And is this child going to be safe? That's the bottom line with me. Is the child going to be safe? If I break up this family, will this child then be safe somewhere else or within the family structure with somebody else in the family or something? But bottom line, will the child be safe? That's my number one concern. I want to make sure the family's good. I want to stop this neglect, this abuse. But is this child going to be safe? That weighs. You know, I made, and Caesar, I'm sorry, man. Yeah, I made this comment to my director probably last year, and I said, man, you know what? I've been working since I'm 16 years old. I've done different lines of work. So this is the first time I've ever taken my work home with me. Like these kids don't leave my mind. Like on Saturday, on Sundays, at 7 o'clock at night, at 5 in the morning, these kids are on my mind. I take my work home. Um, and that's a lot. That's a lot because, you know, children, man, you know, you talk about child abuse, I'll start crying because I'm like, I don't understand that part. And it's so heartbreaking, you know.
Very much so. Very, very much so. Look, come on, Caesar. Look, before I'm gonna give you time, brother. I promise. Look, I ain't even gonna go to the next question without you talking to me, Caesar. Come on.
All right. From experience, right? I can only speak from experience. My experience with my family, like in general, have gone through like I'm getting personal because that's how that's how I have knowledge. I'm not a teacher. I'm not, I'm not in the school system or anything. So I don't see it regularly, but I have seen enough in my own life to like say something about it. I guess I'll explain to you. So in my family, it was a lot of abuse from not both parents, but from my dad's side. And I remember very clearly when I was in school back in El Paso, which is Texas, El Paso, Texas. I'm pretty sure. My dad was still living with us, I think, and we had our house and everything. But he, there was certain things that he, and like I said, I'm not gay personal, but like he used to. Now this my experience. I don't want to say. I mean, I can say it, but it's
You don't have to
No,
share it all.
you're right. But I'm not uncomfortable saying it. Like I'm just saying, like I don't want to trigger anyone, But what he used to do is he used to make me. We used to have guns in the house always because he would say, one of those type of people. He used to put a gun in front of me and tell me, "Here, play Russian roulette." And there was this other occasion when he left me. Then we used to have a porch in our, not porch, what we call it, one of those houses outside the house, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he used to just lock me in there. But it's not cool. No, I know I'm laughing, but it's my type of dealing with it.
Right.
Every time I talk about my dad, something in my brain goes sideways, I guess. And it affects, and I feel for kids who are going through it right now. Because I know what when we escaped my dad and when we escaped that my mom got divorced and everything, and went to Austin, Texas, I'm pretty sure. And he said, my mom, we went into a shelter, a family shelter. And I heard so many stories so similar to mine, like not similar, but in some way similar. And I was like, dang, that's like, and I was just thinking about it because Smitty was talking about how he experienced, like, and you too, Miss Edgar, like he experienced how kids are going through it in school. It's right.
Yeah, keep going. You good.
But I don't know because I have a lot of close friends of mine who went through abuse. I don't want to put the business out there. So, but me personally, I think it's horrible things to go through. But when you are going through it, at least for me in my mindset, and I didn't really realize this until I was older, is that, and I know it might sound like dumb maybe, but I feel like I had it the easiest of the friend group that I was used to in. Not the easiest, but it wasn't a competition, but it was like I felt bad for them instead of myself. Because they were going through a lot more stuff that in my mind couldn't make sense. But what I was going through, like it was something that I always went through, it just felt normal to me.
And see, I think that's probably the scariest part, is that part right there where you say it felt normal to me.
Yeah.
And then hearing where like the friends that you had, like y'all was all going through something similar.
Yeah.
So it like, and this just speaks to just how many kids go through child abusive situations, and y'all kind of find solace in each other. And because y'all know I got a statistic for y'all. Y'all know I got a statistic.
Yep.
Because it would not be me if I didn't pull in a statistic for us to talk about, which comes right to that point, Caesar. The statistic says approximately 1 in 4 children experience child abuse or neglect in their lifetime. Of maltreated children, 18% are abused physically. Here you go, Smitty. 78% are neglected, and 9% are abused sexually. So when we think about these percentages, right? Again, how does this statistic all by itself, like how does this resonate with some of your own experiences and observations working with children and families? Because again, like soon as I heard you talking, Smitty, about the amount of neglected kids and how it stems, we go looking right at their attendance rates in school, right? And why they're not attending school and some of the things that are happening behind the scenes. And I was waiting to drop that statistic for you because I'm like, and here you have it, Smitty. You at 78.
That and there you go, right? And when we start talking about numbers and we start talking about abuse, right? They usually correlate. There's usually a correlation. Now, I know you can manipulate numbers. That's fine. I know some of these polls, whatever. But when we really talking about numbers, and then you look at the correlation, when we start talking about the attendance neglect, they go hand in hand, right? Absolutely. To your point, could be a cover up. I'm not sending them to school because I don't want people to see her or whatever the case is. But it's real. But I have to go back, if I could, just give me a second, because Caesar said something, and me and my words. You have to pay attention to the words that young people say. And Caesar used, and it bothers me because I'm sure Caesar's not the only one. But Caesar said a word that young people shouldn't have to say. And Caesar said, when we escaped my dad, when we escaped. No child should ever want to escape their family, right? Now, to Caesar's point, like he said, it became normal. And that's unfortunate. But wow, that penetrated my soul when you said that, Caesar.
And it's just like you said, Smitty, look, imagine, and just think about it. He said, me and some of my friends were going through similar. It might not have been the exact same situation, but just the fact that it's similar.
Yeah.
Right? And I want to say this, I'm so privileged that I never wanted to escape my parents. That's how privileged I am. And then we take that for granted because there's so many Caesars around us that we don't know who want to escape. Yeah. And that's the sad truth about child abuse in every form, whether it's mental, physical, sexual, or neglect. And then to add to that, sis, and I'm gonna shut up, to your numbers, I just want to add, when we start talking about the Black community, 77% of abuse among Black children, this is problematic now, occurs between 0 and 5 years of age. So we go back to what Caesar was talking about. It becomes my normal. If this is happening, if I'm being abused, whatever that level of abuse is, and it's happening between 0 to 5 years, now it becomes normal. Now it becomes, this is a part of my life, and I'm almost okay with it. And then I show empathy towards others who are going through something, and I'm looking at them like, wow, you got it pretty bad. You know what I'm saying? 61% of Black children are abused by their biological parents. I think we get into this notion as older folks, like, the biological parent would never harm their own child, but 61% do. So these are just a few numbers. And I just pointed that out to be specific about Black families, because sometimes our ugliness, and hold on, let me say this. I had said this on the show I used to be on with some brothers, and we used to talk about airing our dirty laundry. Black folks are afraid to share our dirty laundry. And my counter to that was, well, everybody knows we got dirty laundry. Why don't we just talk about it? And the thing is, when we start talking about neglect or abuse or what have you in the Black community, oftentimes it's pushed under the rug. We don't talk about it. Shh. We don't want to be embarrassed or whatever the case is. So it's real. It happens.
That's because that old saying, don't be out here telling my business.
Absolutely.
Was very real. And
Absolutely.
if your parents caught you saying anything about what happened inside their house, look, to Caesar, look, y'all caught the chunkler, right?
Yeah.
Right.
No,
you know what?
My bad. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Caesar.
I was just gonna say, I was just gonna say two things that just came to mind, and I think the long-term outcome of what happens, like especially for example, for me, when I was living with my dad and going through the abuse, and my family was going through the abuse, and I had this certain things that in my mind were okay at that time. Like it was like, okay, this is pain, that's fine, that's normal. This is suffering, this is mental abuse. I didn't see it as that at that age, but I just knew this hurts,
Mm-hmm.
And I see myself now when I'm older, and this is it's not bad, but I see myself wanting to, like, where I'm working now or where I'm working in something, like I like the pain because it makes me feel not normal, but it makes me feel a certain type of way that I can't really explain. Like it's like I didn't enjoy it, but I don't know. It's like I can like acknowledge that happened in my life and I can overcome it. But another thing that I wanted to say is that I would, and this is another friend of mine who we were talking, and he told me, "Man, you just don't get it, man. My dad's old school," and I was like, "Yeah, I know. And a lot of dads are old school. My dad was, my dad was something else, but, but yeah, I understand what it means because in his issues were that. Now again, I don't want to speak that much about it, but his issue was his dad didn't like him being huggy and doing all that, like showing affection. And I'm like, that's all. I mean, it's not okay, but I would say what I told him is that he just has a different mindset. Like he has an old person mindset, and he doesn't think like us because we have to be the better person. I think because like so. I think for me, and this is what I was taught. I was taught old school to be old school, like a mindset. That's why sometimes I figure like I say that I'm older than I am. Like I feel like I'm older.
Because you be talking to us like you 100, bro.
but I was just grew up like I never really got to enjoy my childhood. Like I don't remember really that much of my childhood. I remember only the bad things and only the tough things. And I remember just grinding it out, like just toughing it out and doing what I had to do. And I noticed now that's what a lot of adults are doing. Like just toughing it out, toughing it out. And I was like, damn, man, I went through that at such a young age. It doesn't. For example, I have my friend who is like same age as me. And he says, I have issues being committed and stuff. And I'm like, yeah. I don't know what to say to that, to be honest. But I just be I try to support him, and everybody goes through their own issues, and I try to help him. He's trying to get sober, and I'm like, I've been sober for a couple of years, so I may be able to help. But I went cold turkey, which is, I mean, for me, it was really, really hard, like really, really hard. And I recommended that to him. He said, I can't do it, man. But back to
See, that's the willpower, right?
the
Like
willpower.
you had that willpower. You knew that you had it in you to say, I want to make a change in my life.
Exactly.
Right? And then you took the extra steps to make that happen. That's not so easy for a lot of other people.
Yeah,
And
I
say,
realized that.
I want to do this and be able to stop cold turkey. But at the end of the day, you're doing your part as a friend, right?
Yeah.
You know, you're saying here are the options, and you're giving them that leeway.
And I'm trying, you know, I'm trying to be a good friend, because that's all you can be. You're trying to be a good person. You're trying to be do this, do that, and it's hard sometimes. But I think from my experience, like, I can actually help certain people because they either went through some similar stuff or are going through some similar stuff, and I just try to help. You know.
Absolute. Look, I gotta acknowledge Mama dropped in the comment. You know, the saying was, what goes on in the house stays in the house. Which is definitely true. Look, Lord knows I heard that.
Yeah.
I ain't gonna call you out though, Mama, but but that was truly the same. But I think another issue that we got to look at too when we talk about that saying in particular, think about how many people turn a blind eye saying, that's not my business. So you see the child walking around with the bruises. You may have witnessed them getting thrown to the other side of the room, but that's not my business. That's their family issues. That's their family problem. And I'm just going to walk in my house and pretend like I didn't see that happen because that's not my business.
Yo.
How can we get outside of that?
You know, so I can only tell you what I was told about my pops. My pops was not having that. Like, if you was a child and you needed something or you was in harm's way, my pops was gonna step in. I've had multiple people come to me and be like, man, your pops, he did he stepped in. He went, he told my pops what, this, that, and the third. And that means a lot to me. You know, I would hope I'm that way. But again, my struggle is being counterproductive to the legacy of the Black family. I do what I can to help young folks, whatever challenge they're experiencing, right? I understand this at the same time, being practical. I can't save everyone. But maybe it's not me. Maybe I point you into a resource, right? Maybe I point you to a program or somebody else that can kind of help you. You know, we, I don't know. I'm in my emotions right now because this topic just, you know, you know, I was a tough dad. Like, you're not touching my kids, you're not getting close, ain't no hugging. You know what I'm saying? Ain't none of that. And I probably, probably was a little too tough. But when you get those texts years down the line, Dad, thank you, Pops, thank you, whatever, it goes a long way with me because it means, at least you understood what I was trying to do. I might have not did it the right way. And then to this day, I still get young people coming up to me, yo, Mr. Russell, man, thank you for that. Or Coach, man, thank you for that. And I'm not even knowing what I was doing. Sometimes you can help young people just by being present. You know what I'm saying? Just by being present. And you don't even know what they're going through. And it's not for you to know what they're going through, but just your mere presence can help them out. And I want to say this because I know we're running up against time, but because of what we're talking about, and growing up, my daughter was my first child. And that was like, I'm laying my life on the line for you, baby girl. Like, you know what I'm saying? I sacrificed a lot of things, and I do it all again, because I knew, even at 20 years old, I knew the importance of my position in her life. I didn't want her calling no other man dad. I didn't want her being succumb to the daddy issues or whatever the case is. So when we talk about child abuse and we talk about neglect, you know, I came across a book by Susan Schwartz, The Absent Father Effect on Daughters. And I know that's a tough situation. That's a tough conversation to have. But when we talk about child abuse, if you're a father and you don't have a relationship with your daughter, I'm sorry, that's abuse. That's abuse. We wonder as old folks, man, why is that little girl acting like that? Why is she doing this? Why is she doing that? But we don't ask, well, where's dad at? What's that relationship like? Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not going to sit here and say every young lady with a dad in her life is a saint and is, is living this great life. I'm not saying that. But if we go back to the numbers that you talked about, and we look at the correlation is probably more true than it is false when we talk about behavior with young women and the absence of a father. And I'm not going to sit here and get on my soapbox like I'm running for president or something like that. And I'm not going to say I'm the best dad ever. But what I am going to say is, man, if you got a daughter, the only job in your life is to be present. Your only job in your life is to be present for that little girl, because she has to learn some things. I don't know. I'm in my emotion. I'm gonna shut up, sis. But we
Look,
really
I'm gonna
got
say it's the same thing for our young men, though, Smith. Because I mean, when we think about some of the things that our young men go through as well, they had good examples of a father. They wouldn't be in these situations. Because see, what I want you to also think about, because like when we say, where were the fathers for these young girls?
Mm-hmm.
Where were those fathers? Because for some of them, it's a repeated cycle, Smith.
Generational.
So when we look at it, like we can't just look at them and say, where were they for these young girls if they didn't have that example for themselves? So they're not just going to neglect their young girl, they neglecting their young boys too. And that's why our young boys are out here doing some of the things that they're doing. So, I mean, it is certainly a twofold situation where I feel like, again, fathers show up. And I know, it's tough. It's hard. But guess what? Life is tough. Life is hard. Look, we can make 20,000 excuses why we can't be present or why we are not present. Oh, hold up. Sis told me to drop the collection plate.
Oh, she already did. I seen it. Look,
I'm coming.
Seen it.
But I think we do have to look at the situation as a whole if we're gonna look at it, right? Let's look at that whole thing, full cycle. Full cycle.
And again, you started this show, we're just talking about the triggering effects when we start talking about child abuse. And I can clearly say right now I've been triggered. I'm a grown man. I got children, I got a grandson. I've been triggered because just think about this, folks. Just think about this. We're in 2024. That means however you want to do your math, whatever math you go by, we've been in existence for at least 2,000 years. 2,000 years. And we still haven't figured out how to solve this issue. We still haven't figured out why it happens. We can easily fall back to saying it's generational. Like Caesar said, and I thought it was powerful. Like, I'm old school. We throw old school out there to cover up traditional or generational ideologies. Oh, we're old school, so that means you're tough. Or you know what I'm saying? And we still as the most progressive, self-proclaimed country in this world, we still haven't figured out one of our ugly taboos, and that's child abuse. Right.
And to that point right there, I'm gonna drop y'all with another statistic before we close out.
Go ahead.
And I think this one kind of speaks to exactly what you said. Smith, estimated 600,000 children. Y'all, not 6,000, not 60,000, 600,000 children were victims of abuse and neglect in 2021.
That's horrible. Well, you can I just add on and double down in a way that I wouldn't want to, but just to raise some eyebrows and to highlight some things. 2021 is the middle of the pandemic. A lot of kids still ain't in school. A lot of that reporting happens because of not attending school or what happens, what is seen at school. So
you knew when that statistic was going, because I was just about to say it. We still got unreported numbers because there was no way for them to report it. So
absolutely.
If the number at that point was 600,000, we could easily say there was probably a good 600,000 that never went reported.
Without question, and I wouldn't question that, because that's the ugly truth. That is the ugly truth.
Yeah.
And I want to be clear. So when those numbers cover everything: physical, mental, sexual, neglect, right? So imagine it. What is that? 4, 5 subdivisions of child abuse, and each one is probably averaging 100,000. You can easily double that because it was non-reported because we was in COVID. So we're easily over 1 million.
Absolute.
1 million. And now, when we start talking about legacy, when we start talking about tomorrow, those children, whether they've been assisted, whether they've been afforded resources or programs or whatever, what does their tomorrow look like? What does their tomorrow look like? You know what I'm saying? And these are the things we just need to be mindful of when we're doing the work out here that Sister Abigail's doing, what Caesar's doing, what Sister Jocelyn is doing, and Dr. Lido is doing, and all of these amazing people, the work. We got to start understanding the ramifications of tomorrow. Because like the great Scarface said, you can't overlook tomorrows because they coming. So what are we doing now? And again, I go back to how I started this, like I'm in this crazy position. I want to help this family, but then I'm destroying the family at the same time. I'm stuck in this crazy loophole, like I'm working against my work. I'm physically and actively working against my work. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy.
And the sad part is it's gonna continue to happen.
Unfortunately.
And we gonna still be sitting in that uncomfortable parallel. Right.
I want to say this before we shut, because it's on me and it's organic. And Caesar, I challenge you, my man, because you've accepted every challenge so far. But I challenge you to start a nonprofit or something with the understanding of escape being part of that. I don't know what that looks like. I don't know there's something in me. There's a call. There's something saying there's so many young folks wanting to escape.
Yeah.
Right. And I think some kind of work that you could lead using the word escape somehow, even if you have to spell it backwards to be creative or something, but it has to be there because you're not the only person that used that word. And that word is sitting on my mind, man. I can't get that out of my head. I can't get that out of my head.
The crazy thing I think is, and I'll accept your challenge. I'll try. I always like challenges, so I'll try. But
Let me know where I can help.
when I never like I didn't see it the way you saw it at the very moment when I said it that very way. I never saw it like I saw it. I said escape, but nothing really came to mind to or to my heart. So you actually explained it like how you did because, like I said, everything becomes normal to me.
Mhm.
But yeah, that's crazy. I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try for sure.
Look, all it takes is to start writing them ideas down on paper.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I'm writing them right
Start
now,
writing.
man.
I love
Yeah.
it. I love it. Yes. I love Smith. Caesar has accepted every challenge.
Yes.
And
Yes.
he do.
Yeah,
Listen, but one thing about it, like you already know, you got people behind you, right?
yeah,
That's gonna help you see it through whatever it is you decide to do, and like that's what we here for. So like we here to see you succeed and win. But it's so true. Like again, this is why I say, I don't care if you feel like you ain't got nothing to say. You always welcome on Talk Tuesday. And
I
look, and
appreciate
you gonna hit us every time with from my experience.
it. Yeah,
And I'm here for it because you know what? Nobody can tell it better than you because you lived it. You
yeah,
lived through it. That is your story. That is your healing. That is your journey. It is what got you to where you are. It is what led you to become the person that you are. It has helped to shape and mold you along the way. And now you are telling that story to help other people who are escaping.
yeah.
You
Um,
you you lived it to be that empowerment
yeah.
for them.
I was looking. I was talking to my brother. We talk a lot more nowadays, but I was talking to him. And I was talking about my nephew, and my nephew looks at me like a dad almost because his dad wasn't really around, and I see him as someone as my nephew, of course, but in a weird way, I'm like a father figure to him, and I feel like I have to be responsible, and I can't fail that. You know what I'm saying? But
Mhm.
like what Smitty said about the whole dad situation and how many men and women go without dads in their lives. I remember me as a kid, just just looking at other families and stuff, realizing I love my family, right? But something in me always wanted to like escape.
I see you,
um,
Smith. Look.
but yeah, something in me just always wanted to like just have because I never really got a father figure in my life. Like I literally went without one, and the one that I had was very wrong. And I feel like if I can possibly help my nephew or anyone else to even be as close as it is, to be as close as what a fair figure is, I'm proud to be, man. But yeah,
I love that. I absolutely love that about you. You have you've seen the things that were not right,
yeah,
and you have taken the conscious effort to change it around so that your siblings and your nephew receive better.
yeah,
And for that, I think that is so commendable and so awesome and amazing. And again, like these are the things where we talk about making changes and talk about, breaking curses, breaking barriers, changing the narrative. I
yeah,
mean, you're doing all of those things simply to make life better for your siblings and to
yeah,
make life better for your nephew. And it all means something to them. They may not
yeah,
tell you, but I can tell you it means something to them.
yeah,
And later on in life, you may not hear it tomorrow. You probably won't hear it next week or next month. But later on in life, you'll be able to hear the impact that made for them coming up now, because again, we know life as we knew it back then, is not a life as they know it now.
Yeah.
Definitely things are so different, but at the same time, you're still taking that experience that you had back then to help mold it into a better situation for them right now. So I appreciate that you see it, you challenge it, and you turn it into something much better so that they don't have to experience the things that you experienced or see the things that you had to go through. So that in itself is commendable, and that is worth you understanding what type of impact you are making, and the difference that you are making in their lives. So I thank you for doing that.
Thanks, man.
My boy. So listen, y'all already know, because look, we here for these conversations. We could be here all day because there's so much. Look, Smitty done dropped another one. Listen, look, quit playing because I'm writing them down so we don't forget them. Smitty over here dropping names in the chat. Okay.
Hey, this book was recommended to me. It's called Nurture Shop. It's for parenting. I suggest you read it if you're a parent. If you're, a new parent, if you're an older parent, if you're an uncle like Caesar, it challenges our conditioned bias of how we perceive young people. And it has made me, I've been reading this book now for about 2 weeks. I don't read fast. But it has challenged me to think about how I respond to young people and their words and their actions, their nonverbal actions. It is quite the read. It's definitely interesting. I'm not saying it's a game changer. I'm just saying if you have young people around you, it is a phenomenal read.
I love it. I love it. And I even wrote down the other one that you had mentioned. You said the absent father effect on daughters. Who wrote that one again, Smith?
Susan Schuster. Hold on, I'm gonna get it for you right now. Susan Schwartz. I'm sorry, Susan Schwartz. SCHWARTZ. Susan Schwartz. The absent father effect on daughters.
So I'll be dropping both of those in the chat for y'all, or in the comment section on YouTube. So if you guys want to take a look at those books, please do. Look, thank you, Smith, because always listen, one thing about Smith, he gonna drop something for us to read, and I love it. I'm here for it. Look, I love that. Because we should be reading something that's productive in this lifetime. So look,
say that.
Listen, but we'll read a bunch of garbage, but we might as well read something that's gonna be productive.
Hey, you know what? I'm gonna change this up so we end on a set. We read everything about what's going on with P. Diddy right now.
Listen.
But we won't read one iota that Frederick Douglass wrote. Man, go on Facebook or Instagram and not read something about P. Diddy, what's happening. People get caught up read 2 hours with what's going on with P. Diddy, but won't read the opening chapter of Frederick Douglass.
Not one.
Not one.
Look, I am here for it. So look, we're gonna drop all them books.
Say that.
Constant knowledge. So before we wrap up today's segment, we want to remind all the people who are watching for sure that if you are someone you know is in need of support regarding child abuse or neglect, help is always available. So you can contact the National Child Abuse Hotline at 1-800-422-4453 for confidential assistance and guidance. And at the end of the day, we just want you guys to remember that you are not alone. And your safety and well-being is important to us. And so there are people that are readily available to help you. That number is a 24-hour hotline. So that being said, guys, we absolutely thank you for joining us for another episode of Talk Tuesday, y'all. And we hope that y'all have a fantastic Tuesday night. We'll see you again next week when we tap into this conversation. But he like, no, you not. No, you not. Oh, no, I'm not. Look, nah. Whoa.
It would be remiss of me if we're talking about child abuse, and I am not trying to undermine or minimize or downplay the seriousness of child abuse, but with the work that I do, and I will continue to do this work because it's part of the cause, I want to say this. I effectively hold accountable our society for the blatant and consistent child abuse shown to our Black and brown young males. In a microcosm, here in my little community, in my little county, less than 7% of the enrolled population at the junior college is Black males. But if I look at juvenile probation in my same county, they make up 97%. That is abuse. That is neglect. I'm sorry. I can't stand for it. I can't let it just go by the wayside like it's not. That's unacceptable. We cannot continue to allow our young Black and brown males to be thrown away, discarded, put in a system that is treated unfair and does not give them ample opportunity, nor does it extend them the grace to grow like some other privileged human beings get. They don't get the chance to make mistakes. They get one chance and then they're subjugated and segregated into a system that does not allow for them to grow or evolve. So again, I'm not trying to minimize the importance of this topic. But if we're going to talk about it, then that's part of it. And we cannot continue to turn an eye to that.
So when we come back to our next segment, Smith, you're gonna come back with some ideas on how we can help make that change. So look, that's next segment. Okay. So that being said, y'all, good night, good people.